I'm gonna go back in the Wayback Machine a little bit, because on Chainsaw of the Fate years ago we talked about Metroid Other M, which also had some problems levied at it because of, alleged sexism and problems with the story and things like that. I had a problem with the review that X-Play gave, which was written by Abby Happy. Not because I thought the game was necessarily really good. I thought most of it was really good, except for the tacked-on Wii parts. Like, if they had just let Team Ninja do Team Ninja stuff for the entire game, it would have been a really, really good action game, because that's what they do. It just would have been Ninja Gaiden with Metroid characters, and that's perfectly fine. But what ended up happening was that, they had, you shoot missiles in Metroid, but to shoot missiles in Metroid, you have to point the Wiimote at the screen, which might not be a problem if it weren't for the fact that it didn't support the nunchuck extension, so you had to play it holding the remote sideways.
I played about 2 or 3 hours of it. I actually quit the game. It was a combination of the shitty controls in the game, and I guess it was sexism, but more offensive to me was what they did to the character of Samus. This is the most badass, Boba Fett would get his ass kicked by Samus, or at least it'd be a close match. Not Other M Samus. Other M Samus is running away crying and moping, and I'm like, this is not...
But, we talked about Death of the Author earlier. This is a prime example of Death of the Author, because, what we brought into this were our own interpretations of who Samus was. And I will tell you this definitively and without question, you don't know a damn thing about a single Nintendo character because they have no development. Period.
Come on, I read the thing. She was hunting space pirates on Xerxes when she found the...
And she has Chozo DNA, whatever that means. You don't know a damn thing about her. And, I didn't like it any more than anyone else did. But I also, I understood that, people brought a lot of their own
I think the bigger mistake wasn't necessarily Team Ninjas. It was Nintendo giving it to Team Ninja, because it's like, do you not see what they do, right?
Team Ninja had nothing to do with that, though. The story was penned by the co-creator of Metroid, not Miyamoto, but the other guy. I can't remember his name. He was the one that wrote that story, which is another thing that I think is a disservice, because, yes, Team Ninja has done a lot of skeezy and questionable stuff, but they had nothing to do with that story. They're not the reason that game was considered to be sexist. Samus's boobs did not jiggle. They crafted a fine engine around most of the game.
I don't know that the Wii can support jiggling. We'll find out in Bayonetta 2. Well, I guess Bayonetta 2 was Wii U.
Yeah.
But, no, actually the worst scene was right in the beginning. Right when Samus shows up and there's the military commander.
It's like, I've got all these weapons.
And she falls in line with him, like, I'll listen to your orders and all that. That was like, what, wait? Hold on.
I don't know
She's not going to take any shit for some military guy, especially since she's been on her own forever.
A Metroid game?
Yeah.
It is a trope that she loses all of her shit at the beginning of the game.
No, I mean, it was just more of, the attitude between her as far as, you will shut up and stand in the back and not say a word, and it's like, no, I'm saving your ass. That's the Samus that, and you're right, this could be Death of the Author here, but tough shit, man. How many Metroid plus the Primes?
But there were no other characters for her to interact with that you weren't shooting at. I mean, that's kind of the point, is you don't know anything about her
Exactly! So if somebody gives her shit, she's gonna shoot at them.
Well, again, that's what you think, but you don't know how she reacts to allies because she doesn't have any. Anyway. God, what were we even talking about? We were talking about Dragon's Crown.
Oh, yeah. No, so, I mean... Yeah, it just, to me, it's more of own up to what you did. Don't jump out there and claim that people are projecting on something that's pretty clearly there. I mean, it's like, really, there's no sexist thoughts when you were drawing a female crotch that, is 30% of the screen real estate. That didn't enter your mind? Because that's actually disturbing if it didn't.
And you're correct. I mean, those are some questionable images,
and
I wish they had maybe stayed away from that.
And that's why it's hard to have that discussion, because it's like, I put that in a different class than like saying something like Skullgirls or Bayonetta have an issue. I might say, yeah, it's, you know, hey, it's
but
objectifying. Also, maybe there's some claims there, but it's pretty light on what they're doing, other than eye candy.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, come on, that's what a lot of what video games are about, is the visual eye candy. You know, whether it's boobs or whether it's pixels, you know, I mean, it's textures and buildings that we're running. What are we doing, man? What?
I don't know, man.
I don't even know what is going on at the moment. I thought we killed this guy.
Yeah, I want to say, and maybe somebody, as a white guy, it's really hard to express an opinion about a lot of these things, because there's.
I don't think enough people appreciate that you just aren't the man by default. You know?
There's sort of this false dilemma that
there's not a negative to it, but all the positives that you might assume, they don't open up either.
There's a false dilemma that because I am not a minority or a woman, that I don't have intelligent things to say about it. But I kind of question. I don't deny it's pandering. I don't question that it's sexualized. I do kind of question about it being sexist per se, though, because again, there are male and female heroes, you know, and again, some of them are, both men and women are rather
in Dragon's Crown, the sexist claims are more after all the NPCs.
Yeah.
Basically being rescued and then pretty much thanking you with sexual favors.
I don't know that they thank you with any sexual favors.
And implied.
It can be a man saving them. It can be a woman.
I mean, let's just say, when I look at Dragon's Crown, I was like, is this an Xbox Live indie game?
Right.
Because, dude, this totally looks like Xbox Live indie games right now. It might just have better gameplay. That's really what separates it from the current crop of Xbox indies.
I think, you know, you can take more umbrage with there being a disproportionate number of female rescuees than male ones, but that's also that's not just an issue you can level solely at Dragon's Crown. That's part of the fantasy trope, unfortunately.
Right. Like, no, they're not the only ones that.
Like you can't just point the finger at Dragon's Crown, and I'm not saying that maybe it doesn't deserve some of the criticism it's getting, but you're sort of missing part of a larger discussion of they are to a degree sticking to fantasy tropes, and what does that say when these tropes include?
But I think it is going the right way. I think for a viewer to take these tropes and put that in the review as part of the things they didn't like about the game, that's a very, you know, small thing, but that kind of adds up, especially in this Metacritic world where they stack their bonuses on it, which is a whole other dumb thing I don't agree with, but it's a small way to somebody, you know, to affect a change, because to larger context, right? I believe that the problem that AAA gaming has, you know, with all the funding and everything,
yes,
is that AAA is not realizing it is niche. That in the world of gaming, what we call AAA games is actually niche compared to all games total.
Yes.
We just like to exclude the other ones. And it's like, look, if you want to keep doing these 13, 14, 30, 40, $50 million budget games, $100 million budget games.
Look at Hollywood right now, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you want that model, you're going to have to appeal to more people. The same people who've been buying your games aren't enough, right? Well, I don't think the demographic has grown any of who are buying the AAA games, but the costs have grown, and that's the problem. It's like, you still have the same player base. It's not growing with the costs are growing, and this is one of the reasons, because, you know, I gave a talk, and this was in my talk, of, it was a Quest for Fun talk, and it was a talk about game design, and what actually constitutes fun. But the quickest thing you can do to screw everything up, if you're doing everything right in your way, is to put something in your game that alienates a group of people, right? And you can do this without knowing it. And it can happen at a subconscious level. And the example that I use is like, you know, that the language used to describe a game, right?
Right.
You may think, and even I thought this way for a while, that if the language at the back of the box says he a lot, and he will go and save castles, and he will, or save, you know, fight dragons and save the kingdom, and he will do all this. You know, I used to think, like, that is not really that significant. And as I read more into the subject, this is actually something I've read quite a bit into on gender and other issues in game design. And by quite a bit, I mean books on it. Was some of the studies done that even the women who said, yeah, that's not a factor, when they observed and tested them, it came out to be a factor. But it didn't come out to be a factor as like, this is an offensive game, therefore I'm not buying it. What happened was, you walk into Best Buy, there are 50 games there, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna buy like 2.
Well, more like 20 now.
No, like 20 now, unless you're in the Wii section. And then you gotta question
5.
what you've done with your life. But yeah, so there's like 20 games right now, but it'll blow them back up when the next gen hits. Hopefully. When you go to that thing, you are subconsciously rejecting a bunch of games at once, so you can focus on a few to consider, okay? You throw them out because you don't like the genre. You throw it out because you didn't like the box art. You throw it out, and these things are happening subconsciously, right?
Right.
Like if somebody asked you, in fact, when they did ask the women, you know, when they looked at games or they put games back that had a lot of male-centric text versus either having female text or gender-neutral text on the back, that they considered longer than the male text without being realized they were being tracked on that. So that's the problem with bias. When you ask somebody something, they'll answer one way when they might want to do something else. Like, you know, if I go up to you and I say like, hey, do you want ice cream?
I'll be like, sure.
Yeah, that sounds good. Damn, ice cream. But if I never said that, you know, you're fine. You want ice cream.
You don't put the idea in my head.
Yeah. So you got to be careful of that with the surveys. So, you know, they just attributed it to, they found that women would subconsciously put down those boxes, and when asked, they would just have vague answers of like, it didn't seem appealing. The story didn't seem engaging, didn't seem appealing.
Yeah, it didn't grab them. I wonder why.
And it's funny how, like, that little thing to do. So, like, there's a whole thing in my talk of, like, and it's beyond gender, okay? But I use gender because gender is such an easy thing to test your game for. Right. It's a pretty easy thing to look at your game. It's a pretty well-known set of issues as to what's going on. We're back to this guy.
Yeah.
It's a pretty well-known set of issues to look at. But the thing is like, if you solve any kind of gender bias in your game design, if you take the time and look at that and make whatever tweaks you need to make, because generally they're small tweaks.
And God bless you if you're still watching after all that.
Yeah. This probably even split into another video, so like they skipped to the next one because they got sick of it, and they went, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Yeah, they're still talking about this shit.
And by the way, we've only like advanced like a boss, so
yeah.
Yeah. So if you scale to handling the gender issues, you've probably handled a whole bunch of religious and racial issues as well, because so the example I give is like a standard fantasy game. And it's where a guy, it's written male perspective and everything. You know, a guy will play, you'll play one of the Knights of the Round Table, and you'll ride off from Camelot. You can play 4 knights, and each knight is a different quest, and you play all 4 knights, and then Camelot's restored or whatever. And it's like, by going in and tweaking this, you can actually make that very gender neutral, and actually make it a better game design by, instead of being one of the 4 Knights of the Round Table, which are all men, letting the player create their own character who comes into Camelot to find King Arthur, and the knights are missing because Camelot's in ruin, and then you have to go find the 4 knights and basically do the same 4 quests, but now you have a knight companion or a knight setting up the quest for you each time. So this allows a female player to come in and pick a female character. Right? They don't have to play as a male. But more importantly,
Which I would also say is always a better design choice if there are any game designers watching, because I enjoy making my own character and making them integrated into the story.
By taking the lens of gender issue, when you go to this other game design, you allow anybody to project whatever they want, and then it's not Lancelot who saved the kingdom. I fucking saved the kingdom.
Yeah, fuck this guy.
And it's a better game design. Oh, and by the way, you excluded one less group.